why am I doing these training calls at all? Well, I've been in the fitness industry for over 20 years now, and I've been a successful personal trainer. I've been successful in a sales role and leadership and management roles, and then those of you that know me through exercise therapy know that I have launched a fitness business and scaled it to an international successful company. Um, and I just started noticing a little while back that, the type of help that people were getting as personal trainers or in the industry, the volume was going up, but the quality was going down. And so it was a lot of like templated courses, like use my script or my template, or, the magic formula for gaining 20,000 or $1 million a month in training sales and all that kind of stuff. So I thought, I'm going to do something to help people out. This is an area that I have a background in, and I love to help people. So that's why I decided to do this. And so here we are. So today we're going to be covering the PT Master Plan. Okay. It is not a templated formula. It is not an easy apply tomorrow formula to make you millions of dollars, but it is a master plan. And so I'm going to go through these 5 key areas of your business, and then each of the areas have things within them that need to be mastered. And if you have questions along the way, I'd love to hear them. I'd love this to be interactive, and so we'll go through that together. So I do a lot of business coaching, and so I coach different people. I coach like individual personal trainers that work live. I work with people that own studios and gyms trying to get people in. I work with people that have online self-study programs, all sorts of different health and fitness professionals. And when I'm working with these people, I'm always working with them in one of these 5 areas or all of these 5 areas. And it all comes back to this is like, okay, well, which of these 5 areas are we working on right now? And how does that impact the other areas? And so that's why I bring this up, is to say, is like, we're always working on one of these 5 areas. These 5 areas kind of encompass your entire business, no matter what category you fit into, whether you are a one-on-one, I work at this gym, or you are someone that has an online program, or you own your own studio or whatever. These are the 5 areas that everybody is working within. Okay. And so that's why I thought I would start with this. It's going to be a big overview of this, and then we can dive into different topics as we go. So I'm going to show you here, I'm going to share my screen and show you these 5 areas that we're going to look at today, and we'll break them down a little bit. And so here's the 5 areas that anybody in the health and fitness industry needs to master in order to have success. Okay. And so when we look at it, this is the different things. So typically it starts in the business model in the blue area there. So, we have to have some sort of business model, right? Then we go into how are we going to market that business model? Then we look at our sales process, and then we have our actual program delivery, and then we have client retention. So these are the 5 areas that every health and fitness business owner or solopreneur needs to master. And then there are things within each of the 5 areas that, when we break them down, but we're always working within these 5 areas. And that's what I was saying, is that when I'm doing a coaching, whether it's a studio owner or an individual, we're working in one of these 5 areas and saying, okay, which of these 5 areas? Now there's three keys that I want to get across about this little graph here, these 5 areas. The first key is that there is a little bit of an order to it depending on where you are in your process. Okay. So, if you look at business model and then marketing, in order to know what to market, you got to kind of have a little bit or enough of your business model figured out, right? Like, so when I'm working with people, sometimes they're wanting to jump into their sales flow, or like, how do I market my social media? But they really haven't got the details of their business model ironed out well enough yet. And so that's where we need to sort of back up and say, okay, we need to do a little bit more work here, and then we can move forward. The same thing is if you look at client retention, if you don't have any clients yet, then you're not going to be really focused on client retention, right? So there's a little bit of order to things in the beginning when you're building your business, okay? The second thing about this graph here is that all of these areas overlap and they all influence each other, okay? So all the areas are going to influence each other. And so, program delivery and the value you give there is obviously going to impact your client retention. And I think most people can understand that there's a strong connection between marketing and sales, right? Like that these two are going to relate together. And then if you're haven't gotten a good offer figured out in your business model, then it makes it harder to sell the offer, right? So these are all going to influence each other, and that's important for people to understand. And then the third thing to understand about these 5 areas is that, like I said, there's an order in the beginning to sort of getting the ball rolling. But once you do have the ball rolling, then we want to focus on the area that is going to move the needle the most in your business. So then we say, okay, the ball's rolling. We have a few clients coming in and we have some things set up. And now it's about saying, okay, which of these 5 areas, if we focused on it right now and put effort and time and focus into it, would move the needle the most in your business, because it's going to be different for everybody, and depending on the stage that they're at in their business development, the area that will move the needle the most might be different. And so focusing, once the ball's rolling and you have a little bit of everything of these things going, asking yourself the question, which of these right now, if I put 100% of my focus into it, is going to move the needle the most, is a really, really important question. Okay. So we can focus on it. The reality of it is that, most of you, myself included, are extremely busy individuals. We are delivering the programs ourselves. We are servicing these clients. We are meeting with people. And so there's a big difference between working in your business and working on your business, right? That's an important principle that I've talked about in the past. And so if I'm in front of a client right now, I'm working in my business. If I'm doing a consult, I'm working in my business. Working on my business is, I'm at home, I'm in my office on a laptop, I'm whatever. I'm somewhere developing one of these 5 areas in order to make the business better, right? And move it forward. So, you might own a studio and you might say, well, I got to clean the equipment and whatever at the end of the day and stuff. That's working in your business. Your business isn't getting better by doing it, but you're right. Somebody needs to do that, right? And so that might be you. And so that's working in your business. And so every fitness business owner, whether you're a solopreneur and you're just like, hey, I'm just a one-to-one person, or you're a studio or you're an online program, every single health and fitness business owner needs to dedicate some time to working on their business. Okay. And this is going to come down to time management for sure. But I strongly encourage that to say, like, even if you're servicing, 30 hours a week of clients, if you want that to continue into the future and you don't want that client source to dry up and you want to earn more per hour in the future, then you need to spend X amount of hours working on your business, okay, in one of these 5 areas. And so generally when I'm talking to people and I'm coaching people, I'm saying, okay, where are we putting or scheduling some time into your week each week to work on your business, not servicing client, not doing consults, but sitting down and working on one of these 5 areas. I understand that this time is not endless. It could be 4 hours a week. It could be 5, 10 hours a week. It could be, depending on what stage you're at, different amounts of hours, but it needs to be more than 0, right? It needs to be more than no hours, and it needs to get scheduled, because if we don't schedule it, it's not going to happen. Just the same way that you tell your clients, like, hey, if you don't schedule your workouts in or schedule your times to do the program, it's not going to happen. Well, if we don't schedule time to work on our business, then we get so busy with the details of working in our business that these 5 areas don't ever get improved or addressed. And we should really be constantly on a weekly basis, monthly basis, moving these areas forward in some way, no matter where you're at. In the beginning, they're going to move forward in major ways. In the middle and towards the end, when things have been refined, they're still going to move forward, but maybe you're moving them forward a little bit less because you've got some development there. So that's the key to this here, is these 5 areas. And so these are what we're going to break down here. These 5 areas that overlap, we'll break them down. What do each of these mean? But it's important just to understand those 3 principles, that, in the beginning, there's definitely a little bit of an order to it, that certain things have to get done. They all overlap and influence each other. And then when we do have the ball rolling, we have to ask ourselves, like, look, I only have 4 hours to work on my business this week or 10 hours. What area is going to move the needle the most for my business? Okay. All right. Let's go on to the next slide here. If I can figure out how to change the slides. And I cannot. Give me a sec here. We're going to do it this way. Okay, perfect. So this isn't as pretty, but it'll do. Okay, so the first area, or the first area that we're going to discuss here is business model. Okay, so that was the first area up on there, is working on the business model. So what are some of the things that are in this category or bucket, however you want to term it? So one of them is market. So this is looking at who your niche is and who you're at, what segment of business are you going to be even focused on, right? And so you might be focused on a market that's looking at like weight loss. You might be focusing on a market that's looking at getting pain free. You might be focused on a market that's looking for bodybuilding or a particular nutrition thing, like they're dealing with menopause or they're dealing with leaky gut or whatever. So it's kind of like niching almost, but it's like that general market of where are we starting and what market segment are we going to be into, right? And so we want to do an evaluation process of this market and say, is this a market that has a high demand for the service I'm considering providing for them? Like, do they need the solution? And would they be willing to pay for the solution, right? In order for someone to be willing to pay for the solution, and the problem has to be big enough, right? So the bigger the problem in somebody's life, the more willing they're going to be to pay for the solution, and the higher the price tag they can pay in the solution, right? And so, a chip clip that keeps my chips fresh, is not worth a lot as much to me as my, heart health is, so I don't have a heart attack one day, right? And so, you can see the difference that I'd be willing to pay for someone that if I had a heart attack or had a heart disease, I'd be willing to pay or invest more in something that helped my heart than I would on something that, kept my food fresh. Okay. So that's one thing that we need to consider is the market. Is this a viable market? Do they have money? Do they have funds? Are they willing to invest to solve this problem? And, the other thing that I consider when I look at a market is how much blood is in the water. So if you've read Blue Ocean Strategy, it's a book that talks about, there's a lot of red waters. There's a lot of blood in the water in certain markets, which means there's a lot of competitors. It's expensive to market and advertise in these spaces. And so that's why there's blood in the water. And they talk about in the book how to create your own blue ocean, but blue ocean meaning that, less competition, less crowded. It's going to cost you less to market and advertise to this market. And I was meeting with a client recently that was deciding sort of what market they wanted to be in. And we talked about a few different ideas, and we ended up going down a certain route because we said this other route here, you're very passionate about it, but there's a lot of blood in the water. This is a red ocean. It's very competitive. It's very expensive to market yourself in here, or it's very crowded if you're going to try and market yourself organically. It's not that it can be done, it can't be done. It's just you're placing yourself at the very beginning at an uphill battle, as opposed to giving yourself a little bit of momentum and flowing with the blue ocean. Okay. So that's also something to consider. Delivery method is basically, how am I delivering the program? Am I live there with you? Am I doing it online? Is it a group? Is it one-on-one? Is it a 12-week program that's self-studied and supported by calls, whatever, right? So it's just, how am I going to deliver this product? What's my offer? This is a really important part. Alex Hormozi, who I love, has written his book on $100 million offers. And you need to have a compelling offer, right? And the reason for that is because, the reality of it is that, there is competition. Nobody's out there in 100% blue ocean that nobody else is doing what they do. And so your offer should answer the question, why me? Like, why me versus the next person that does it? Why your studio versus somebody else's studio? Why your services versus someone else's services? Because someone else is doing it and your offer needs to answer that question. Right. And then price structure has a lot to do with like ensuring you're able to be profitable. Right. If you own a studio, you have to bill X amount of sessions per week in order to be able to pay the rent and hydro and things like that. And so we need to figure out that price structure that makes that profitable. If you're delivering one-to-one services, you need to make sure that, your price structure gives you enough to be able to market yourself. Maybe you have to pay overhead to the gym. Maybe you don't, but you need to have some money for all the different things, business expenses that you have and travel time and things like that. So your price structure needs to make sense that if you do this at a certain volume, that you are going to make the sort of income that you want to do. So these are sort of the things that we figure out when it comes to the area of business model. What do we need to do here and all these things? And before we're going to market our business, you can understand that knowing the market, the niche, knowing the offer, these are important things to understand and know. So before I move to the next key area, does anybody have any questions on this particular area in the business model piece? You can throw it in the chat there, or you can raise your hand, whatever works for you. You can come off mute if you have a question, as long as you're not too noisy in the background there. Okay. So I'll wait to see if there are questions come through, and while that happens, I'll jump to the next one. And so the second piece, once we've covered business model, is marketing. Okay. So the next piece is going to be, we're going to need to market this business model or this product. Okay. And when we look at marketing, a couple of the things or key aspects that we're going to need to master or know as the business owner or as the solopreneur is, who is my ideal client? So niche is more of a category. Ideal client is a specific person. Okay. Who are you talking to specifically? Okay. And so the reason that this is important, I made the mistake when I was early in my career, and I think a lot of people make the mistake, is like, I can train anybody, and you probably can, right? But you actually are limiting your success by just focusing on that. And I'm not telling people to turn clients away. So if someone comes and says, "Hey, I want to sign up for your gym or your program," that's not your ideal client. I'm not saying you have to send them away. No, you take them on, right? But I'm saying when we're marketing, we need to market to a specific person. Okay. There's a lot of noise out there in the marketing world, whether it be ads, whether it be social media, flyers, it's all being done. And so if you're trying to speak to everybody, you're speaking to nobody. Okay. And that's a good rule of thumb for marketing, is that if you try to speak to everybody, you're probably speaking to nobody, which means that when people see it, whether it's on social media or they read it in an email, they're not responding emotionally to it. They're not really concerned with it, because it's like, this is to a general person. This isn't for me. When somebody reads your email, or they see your social content, or they talk to you, or however you're marketing to them, you want them to feel like, this is for me. He knows what I'm going through, or she knows what I'm going through. And that's why we need to have an ideal client. If we attract someone that's not in that, depending on your situation, you can take them on, but we do have to have some sort of ideal client figured out, because that's going to inform how we market. Once we have the ideal client, we need to figure out our messaging. Okay. So the messaging is a piece that needs to be mastered as well too. And that's what you are actually saying. And now when we talk about what we're saying, this is a big topic that we can go into, but when we talk about, what are we saying? It's not just actual saying, but it's every way you communicate. It's what you say to people face to face. It's what you write in your emails. It's what's on your website copy. It's what's in your video content on social media. All of that is messaging. Anytime you communicate to someone, you are messaging to them. And so you need to figure out your messaging. Basically, what does your ideal client need to hear from you to take a step forward with you? And that step might just be engaging with more of your content. It might not be purchasing, but it might be engaging more of your content. You've all probably read an email where you're like, I didn't get anything out of this, and you block the sender. Or you've all probably seen a clip on social media where like, I don't know why the algorithm's showing this to me. I don't like this, right? And you never look at that content again, right? So that you are not the ideal client of that particular post or that email, and you didn't resonate with it. And so you're just not going to engage with them anymore, right? If you are messaging to an ideal client and you have the messaging down of what that person needs to hear, right, from you, they'll engage with you more in some way, or make some sort of small mental commitment. Now, a big, this is a big topic and we can go deeper on this, but a big key or clue here on this one is um, it's often less about features of what we do and it's more about what do they need and want, right? So that's a big important piece to messaging is like, we often get caught up in like, I have these certifications and, my program has these features. We give you this support and, you get this many sessions and da 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 da. And the client cares less about that and they care more about like, how are you going to solve their problem? Like, are you going to make their back pain go away? And how are they going to feel and how do they know it's going to work? Those are the types of things they want to hear, right? And so we have to keep that in mind with our messaging is that's an important piece to it. And then we have strategy. So your marketing has to have some sort of strategy to it. We're not using the throw spaghetti against the wall strategy and see what sticks. We're going to have some sort of strategy, meaning like, there's only so much time you have to create marketing. There's only so much money that you have to spend on marketing, right? And so we want to have a strategy that's going to work cohesively together to maximize the impact you have for the amount of time and the amount that you have to create and do this part of your job or this part of your business. And so it's important to have some sort of strategy to it. And then the last piece is medium. So the medium is just how you're communicating your message. Okay. I've broken it down in the past when I've done these types of presentations and coaching with, there's three main mediums, and the mediums are basically socially and digitally and physically. Okay. So physically means you're not there, something is there in your stead. So your website is digital, but it's also physical. You're not there, it's there in your stead. A sign or a poster, posting a blog article somewhere, any of these types of things where someone could walk by and see something that has them engaged and you're not there. That's a physical type of marketing. The second piece is socially. Socially does not mean social media. Socially means you are there and you're trying to get your word out socially. And that could be running workshops. It could be running seminars or information sessions. It could be going to business groups. It could be going to, lunch and learns, different things, but you are there trying to get your message across. And then digitally would be your social media. It would be your website. It would be your podcast or your email marketing or whatever. So those are basically the three mediums. And then we're going to decide, okay, out of those mediums, how are we going to communicate your messages, right? So this comes down to strategy. So in our strategy and our mediums, we have to understand that we can't do everything. Okay. Unless you have a marketing department, like a whole team of people ready to do this for you, you can't do everything, right? It's just not enough hours in the day. And you can't do everything well. And I'd rather see you do something really well than try and do too much and not do it well, right? And so the key is to focus on one marketing channel, right? One or two, and make it good. And then move on when it's working, right? When it's working, it's moving, it's doing what it's supposed to do. Then you can move to the next piece or marketing channel. The same applies for social media. Master one platform. I actually heard, I think it's Alex Hormozi or somebody, one of the business coaches talked about like, until you're above $1 million in revenue, right? Like you're spending ad money, you don't need more than one platform. Like you can make $1 million a year in revenue off of one platform, right? And so it's just about mastering that platform or doing better at that platform. Okay. So we can't be on every social channel. There's not enough hours in the day. All the social channels are different. And so you'd have to redo your content, things like that. And again, if you have marketing people, it's a little bit different, but most of the people I'm working with, they're working with one marketing person or they're doing it themselves. And so, we gotta streamline. We have to have a streamlined strategy in terms of like channels or methods of marketing. And we have to streamline our mediums and say and let's get this working and focused. The other thing about the marketing is I encourage people to work simple to complex. I often encounter people that are like, oh, I want to see, I want to start running ads on Facebook or whatever. But, they haven't really maximized doing outreach or, other things that are a lot easier and there's a lot lower barrier to success, right? So the more direct you communicate your message, the higher success you're going to have. Meaning that if like I'm in a gym and I'm talking to you face to face and I can, pitch you and I'm there, I'm going to have a lot more success than I am putting a video on social media. Right. And it's just because I can say things, I can respond to how you're talking to me. I know the message is getting across because I'm sitting there looking at you versus on social media. People are scrolling through, they're looking at millions of posts. So the more direct it is, the more effective it is. Right. And then the more indirect it is, typically the more you can scale it. That's why people want to go to the social media ads and things like that. But I do social media ads, but I'm saying there's a time and a place, right? So you got to start with simple. You got to start out with the face-to-face stuff, like talking to people face-to-face in the workshops and the low-hanging fruit, you know. So I always encourage people to start with those simple things first. And if you're doing that well and nailing it, then we can progress and create a more robust strategy. But let's start with simple stuff first and let's master that simple stuff. Have you mastered creating a cold outreach list and cold calling people or emailing people? Have you mastered running in-person workshops and getting people to show up to them? Have you mastered networking groups and things like that? So depending on your business model, that's the place where most people need to start, right? Now, if I'm a digital product, I might start digitally, but let's start with the low-hanging digital fruit. Right? If I'm not a digital business, like if I'm any kind of face-to-face business or an in-person business, then I need to start with those other methods first. Okay. So that's just important to understand about the marketing piece. Okay. So we're going to move to the sales channel next, or the sales category. Does anybody have any questions on anything I talked about in the marketing piece? You could throw them in the chat, or you can come off mute, or you raise your hand, whatever works for you. I'm happy to answer anything quick. And there'll be time for Q&A at the end. So if you want to ask something at the end, that's fine too. Okay, let's jump into sales. So the next major category out of the 5, the third category is the sales category. Okay. So sales and marketing are actually different. It seems like, it's the same thing, but it's not. So marketing is getting people to be aware of who you are, that you even exist on this planet, what your product is and what you kind of do for a living. And sales is that more so that process that starts when you get to contact that person. So that contact might be, via email, it might be over the phone, it might be face to face. There's different methods of contact, but the sales process is going to start sort of when that contact happens. That's when the marketing sort of has done its job and now sales takes over. Okay. So when you're looking at your sales, the first thing that's really, really important is your customer journey. And most people don't have a good understanding of that customer journey. So when I say customer journey, it's what is every step or stage does that person go through until they're actually using the product, okay, or the service. So it could be like, I first saw your post on social media, and then I engaged your content a little bit more. And then I saw you were having some sort of contest, so I DM'd you. And then I was on your email list and I got, some emails from you that I read. And then I booked a call, and then, we did a Zoom consult, and then you closed me and I signed up and I started doing the program the next week, and I'm on your program. So that's would be an example of a customer journey. When you have a customer journey, it's never going to be that 100% of customers go through the exact same journey, but there will be a theme. There'll be a theme that 70, 80% of your customers are coming through this same flow. And that's what we're looking for here. We're looking for what is that main flow that's bringing people from becoming aware of who you are to actually using your product. Okay. So we have to understand that customer journey in order to replicate it. If we don't understand it, how can we replicate it and scale it? We can't, right? So first thing is understanding it, and then we can help the customer journey. The second piece is, what is your sales method? Okay. So sales method, I mean, are you doing a face-to-face consult with somebody? Are you doing a digital consult? Is there a click to buy button? Is it just more of a sales call that people are having? What is the method in which people are buying from you? Okay. That's important to understand because it works into your customer journey, and different sales methods are going to have different volumes and closing percentages, right? Like an in-person face-to-face consult is going to be a much, much higher closing percentage than a click to buy, click here and buy the product kind of thing. Right. So this impacts it. And then what the reason we want to understand both of these two things in detail is for the next 2 points. When we understand this, and we're using good principles in our customer journey and our sales method, we're following the sort of the science or the proven paths of methods that work in sales in the health and fitness industry. Then we're going to optimize the flow. So optimize the flow of people through that customer journey, right? So that their experience gets better and better, meaning more people come out the other end. So when we optimize the flow, more people go through that sales funnel and come out the other end, right? And then we want to optimize conversion, which is really the last step before they start using your product, which is that actual sale. How are we doing that? And there's a lot of ways that we can optimize that actual sale. Okay. So if you do consults as an example with people, optimizing flow would be everything that leads them into that consult, right? And getting booked and actually using the service. And optimizing conversion is, what am I doing in the consult with them face to face? Okay. So this is another bucket or another area that needs to be really mastered in these things. And you have to have this down pat for your process to make sure that your business is doing what you want it to do. So this is area number 3. Okay. So we'll jump to area number 4. Unless anybody's got questions on this area, you can jump in now. Does anybody have any thoughts or questions they want to ask on the sales area?
I've got a question, Jeff. It's all right to unmute.
Yeah, go ahead.
For the consult side of things, a face-to-face consult or booking them in for a face-to-face consult, when the question, I just wondered in your opinion, when the question comes for the price in the message when you're trying to get them on the consult. So do you go, so I know there's different theories there, and most of the theories lean to saying, I've got many different programs, come in for the consult, we'll discuss it. Where do you stand on that?
Yeah, 100%. So the reason that is one of the prevailing theories is because of this. If I go to a website, or if I'm talking to someone and I ask the price and they don't unveil it, it's nowhere on the website, and I'm asking you directly what it costs and you're not telling me what it costs, it makes me very suspicious, right? So that's just natural human instinct. We start to get suspicious, we start to get worried, and that could actually decrease your show percentage for the consult or lead to you not booking a consult. So what I like to do, and this is a personal preference, it's something I've coached people on, has worked for them as well too, is I like to give a range, because I want someone, I don't want to avoid the question, right? And I also don't want to answer it directly, because I do have different packages and things like that, depending on what you do. If you just have one program, then maybe you're just going to say what the program cost is. You don't want to scare someone off before they've seen a value, right? So if I say to you, hey, this program's $1,000, but I haven't been able to show you the value yet, now you might not book the consult because you just got the sticker shock and you're not there. So I'm assuming you're talking about personal training services. I like to give a range, right? So I would answer it very similar to how you just said it. Say, hey, Carl, that's a great question. There's actually a lot of different packages that are available to people. I customize my coaching depending on what people want to do. But you can expect a range of around X to X, for coaching. But again, I'd really love to see what it is you're going to need first before I can tell you what it's going to cost. Does that make sense? I hope so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Perfect. Now it becomes a little trickier when you have a high ticket product. Okay. So if I have a high ticket product, and let's say I'm selling a program, it's $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 a month, right? I don't want to scare them off of the program. I want them to book the consult. So there's a couple of different ways to do it. So number one is not giving the price and saying like, look, it's hard to say, I've got to recommend what you need. I'm not a fan of that, because you do know what it costs, right? Like if I have a program that's $1,500 and I'm telling the person, I have done very well at sales using what I call an ethical sales model. And it's just being really upfront with people, but as well as using good sales principles. So I would typically would answer the question for the people. So if someone said, how much does the program cost? I said, I would answer it. And let's say I'm selling high ticket. I would just tell them, I'd say, here's the thing. You're going to need to be willing to invest in yourself if you want to move forward with the program. But we don't even know if this program's right for you. And that's the most important thing that we need to figure out, because I also don't want you to buy something that's not going to work for you. So the program costs around X, $1,000, whatever it is. But, I really do want to see if this is even the right program for you. So let's make sure we jump on a call. And, just for showing up to the call, you're going to get whatever bonus and stuff like that. And then we can see if this is even a right fit for you. And so if I was selling high ticket on the phone, that might be an approach that I would use, right? Or if I was answering an email or something like that, because I do know what the program costs. I'm with a range of like 1 session a month to 3 sessions a week, that's a big range. And so I will give them more of that range. But that's kind of a strategy that I would use for that kind of high ticket is kind of like, hey, is this even going to be right for you? We don't know, but you're going to come to the call. You're going to get X bonus free for coming to the call or coming to the consult, however your sales method is. And we'll figure out if it's right for you or not. And if it's not right, I'm going to be honest with you, and you can go find a product that is right. So any other questions on sales before we move forward to the next bucket? Okay, we're going to jump into program delivery. So that's the next piece. So this is the piece of the puzzle that a lot of the business gurus out there are not talking about, but how you deliver your program is super, super important, right? Nothing will kill your business faster than a crappy product, okay? So if you do not deliver a good service, if your online program, it really isn't that good, if the service you provide when people show up really isn't that great, you can market till you're blue in the face. You can be a great salesperson, but word will spread, and eventually that will kill your program. Okay. So program delivery is essential to long-term success. Okay. And so it's a piece of the puzzle that we have to have mastered in our health and fitness businesses. Okay. So when it comes down to program delivery, the first piece is value. Are we delivering exceptional value to the customer? And I use the word exceptional intentionally. There is always ways to provide extra value and extra service to people that in low cost and low time ways that is going to make a big difference for them. When I coach people, I say your program should be worth 3 times what you charge for it when you look at the value. I often see the reverse. I often see people like are wanting $1,000, and I'm looking at the program. I'm like, I don't understand where the $1,000 price tag is coming from here. Most people are trying to stretch. They're trying to stretch. How much can I get for this thing versus saying, I'm just going to deliver so much value. When they look at this price, it's going to be ridiculous that I'm only charging that for it. Right. And so you delivering that much value. So, I would coach personal trainers and I would say, when I look at your session on the floor, I should see a session that looks like it's 3 times worth whatever you're charging. So if you charge $75 an hour, I'm looking at a $225 session right there when I walk out on the gym floor and I see you coaching and training someone. Okay. So that's going to come down to a lot of factors. Obviously, the skill set that you have, is to deliver the program, whether it's an in-person or online program, like the skill, the quality of the knowledge, the quality of what's coming through is a piece of that, for sure. Small things, the second bullet point here is the experience. Part of the program delivery is the experience people get from your program. So it's not just about what you know, but it's about how do you make people feel, right? So is your attitude such that they're lucky to have me as a trainer, or I'm lucky to have them as a client, and I'm gonna show them that through the way I deliver my service. Small things like showing up early or showing up on time, having the program or having things ready to go, giving them little small bonuses here and there, being professional, being professionally groomed and dressed, over delivering on what you say you're going to do. If you say you're going to do something, doing it, over communicating, right? So schedules change, things happen, but how can you over communicate with people on things and say, hey, you've got a couple of sessions next week. I'm really sorry, but something emergency happened. Can we move this around? I still want to get you in. And, I'll give you this little bonus for moving and things like that. Any little ways where you can over communicate and really, really be on the same page with your clients. I've never heard a client say my health and fitness coach communicates with me too much. You know what I mean? Like the tendency is to under communicate, right? Session reminders, session recaps, things like that. There's a lot of ways that we can provide a great experience. Your attitude when they show up and they meet you, whether it's online, in person, you're like, oh, I'm so tired. It's been a long day. Or you're like, hey, how are you? Are you ready to go? They're like, oh, it's an amazing day. Are you ready to work out? Right? Like that's what they're there to see you for, right? Is not hear about your life story. So experience, what's the experience they get? And the experience is both you, your personality, it's the delivery that you give, right? In terms of giving bonuses, giving extras, do you have a towel in hand ready for them to go? Can you buy a case of water at Costco and give water away for 50 cents a water and things like that? Instead of making them drink from the fountain. All these little things, believe it or not, they make a huge difference over the long haul. Okay. So we're looking at low cost, low time ways to give extra value and go above and beyond for people. Okay. And then the last piece, and that gives them a great experience. We want them to feel warm and fuzzy when they think about you, your service, or your product. And then the last piece is efficiency. The efficiency piece is for you, right? So can I deliver this in the volume that I need to deliver this in order to make the money I need to make and not, only sleep 3 hours a night or be working 7 days a week and, all that stuff, right? So you need to have some sort of program efficiency. So you need to look at the program and say, okay, to make what I want to make, I need to deliver this many sessions a week, or I need to run this many programs. Can you do that? Can you keep that pace? Right. So if you're doing 12-week online program, right? Like what is the pace at which you're delivering those online programs? And can you keep that pace? Right. If you say, I'm going to run 4 a year, that basically means you're running one all the time. And can you keep that pace? Right. So we have to look at the efficiency of our program and make sure it's going to deliver the income to us as well as the sustainability. Anybody can go real hard for a few months. And then what ends up happening to that person is, 3 or 6 months later, they drop off a little bit because they get burnt out. And what happens to the customer? They get burned, right? The quality to the customer when the provider gets burnt out, gets tired, is drained, the quality to the customer goes down. The customer's still paying, but the quality goes down. And so now all of a sudden that leaks into your client retention, right? So from an efficiency standpoint, you have to look at, can I deliver this program at this margin in the volume I need to for a sustained period of time? And that's something that we just need to make sure when we're looking at our business. Okay. And that you can tweak that as you go along, but that's one of the areas in program delivery. So those are the big three in program delivery. Okay. Delivering well above and beyond value, because when they look at the value, they got to look at like, okay, you do weight loss. So does that guy. What's the difference? Right. Where you're selling a 12-week menopause program and so is she. What's the difference? Right. Your value should speak for itself. Okay. The experience you give people, it's easy to give a great experience, right? It's about effort and wanting to, the desire to give a great experience, because at two even price programs that have similar knowledge base, the one that gives the bigger experience is going to win. The one that leaves people warm and fuzzy is going to win. And then efficiency, you can sustain it over time. Any questions on this one? And then we'll jump into the fifth and the final stage of all the things we need to be aware of about our business here.
Jeff, one question for you. I'm running a high-ticket program, and clients pay for me a higher price. And some of them, I think so, from 100%, 25% don't do their work. But they paid for this program. And sometimes I just give them some motivation, for example, price, other kind of thing to motivate them, sharing my experience, and other things. But they still, I'm writing directly for them. Maybe something happened for you. Maybe we can have an individual chatting, how I can help you, if you will be more motivated to do this program. Because my goal that they all have a result, because it's good for me and good for my clients, yeah? But still, that's ridiculous, but some people don't do their work, and even they paid for that huge amount of money.
Absolutely. So I have a couple of thoughts on that, or a couple of answers towards that. And well, the first answer is this: any program, whether it's personal training or a 12-week program or nutrition or whatever, there is going to be a percentage of people that just don't do the program. That's the reality of it. And that's because people have good intentions, life gets in the way, motivation drops off. There will be a percentage of people that don't do the program. Our goal is to minimize that. Okay. So our goal is to minimize the amount of people that don't complete or do the work or finish the program, and maximize the results, as you said, because that is good for your business. When all these people are getting results, they're gonna continue, they're gonna tell other people. So we want to maximize the percentage that are completing the program and getting a result and saying good things about it. Okay. And so what we can do is we have to look at the levers that we're pulling during our program delivery to make that happen. Basically, we can evaluate our program or the service we're delivering, and we're going to see, okay, of this 25%, is there a common part that they're dropping off at, right? So is it kind of closer to the beginning? Is it in the middle? Is it when they're 75% of the way through? And we're just going to look for themes, right? We're going to look for themes to say, okay, out of the 25% that dropped off, most of them dropped off right here at this middle point. Okay. Or most of them dropped off at the end. So we're going to try and evaluate where is the biggest sticking point in the service that we're delivering and where they're dropping off. Then when we look at that area, we can say, is there anything I can fix or do in that particular area to ensure that they're not dropping off? And we have to understand why they're dropping off first. Then we can fix it and deliver something that makes sure they're not dropping off. So a couple of rules of thumb is that, people want results fast, right? So people want to lose weight tomorrow. They want to be pain-free tomorrow. They want their gut to heal tomorrow and things like that. So they're going to see the results that we tell them to focus on. Okay. So earlier in the program, before that drop-off point, is there a result that's not the full goal that we can direct their attention towards, right? So it might be, I'm just going to make something up here. So let's say it's a weight loss program, and I say in 12 weeks, you're going to lose 20 pounds, right? And people are dropping off at the 70% mark. So at the 50% mark, can I focus on something other than the 20 pounds weight loss, right? Can I focus on, at this point, at this 50%, I want you to do your own retest, right? Retest these physical markers and see how much you improved your score by, right?
That's a great idea.
Mark down how much weight you have lost so far, right? It could be an energy on for the next 3 days. I want you to score your energy on a scale of 1 to 10. And I want you to compare it to before you started the program. So what I'm providing at this part, that's the point that's before the drop off, is a result that I'm telling them, focus on this result. And they're saying, oh yes, I've got it. I've got that. I've got higher energy. You're right. I have dropped a few pounds already, not the 20, but I've dropped a few. And, I did improve my physical scores on that test or whatever. So again, I'm just making things up, but I'm saying before the drop off point, I'm going to direct their attention to a result. And that's going to keep them motivated to keep going in the program, because they're like, I am getting a result. I'm going to keep going, versus, well, I haven't lost 20 pounds yet. Right. Which might be the end result, or I'm not pain free yet. It's like, well, you're not pain free, but your pain's lower. Right. And you can move better and whatever. So a good program is going to have these things littered throughout the program. It's going to be constantly focusing on mini goals or mini results and directing their attention towards these mini results. And what that does is saying, yes, there's a long-term result, but because people are impatient, I'm going to direct their attention not to the thing that takes a long time, but to the milestones along the way, so they feel like they're getting a fast result. So that's number one. The second thing is people want things to be easy, right? They don't like, our lives are complicated as they are, and we all have a million things to do. And so we want things to be easy. And so I might look at that sticking point where people are dropping off and ask myself, how can I make things easier here? How can I make the homework easier to do? Is there a different way that I make complying with the program easier and still get the result? Do I need to break it down into different parts? Do I need to make it shorter or whatever? And so if we do that, then it can increase compliance, right? And then the third piece you spoke about is motivation. There are ways that I can apply at this, before the sticking off point, some more external motivation to help them to keep going. So it could be incentives, it can be different things, but those are the things I would look at. I'd look at, here's a dropping off point, and then before that they do drop off, right? How can I get them focused on a fast result or mini results? How can I make things easier for them? And how can I provide external motivations for them? Hopefully that helps.
Yes, thank you very much. But retesting, that's a main thing. I should put now them to do retest and explain how much they have significant changes in their situation and condition. That's always the perfect idea. Thank you very much, Jeff.
You're welcome. And we're always just testing new things. And that's the thing, right? It's like, okay, I'm going to test this out, see if it works. And if it creates the result for you, great. If not, we try something else, right? Okay, awesome. So we're going to move into the last area here, which is client retention. Okay, so we have clients, we're delivering a program, and now we need to retain those clients. It is a lot of effort. It's expensive and it's tedious to get a client. And the rule of thumb says that it's cheaper and easier to keep a client than it is to get a new one. And so we want to have client retention. So as I had mentioned before, what we do in the program delivery has a massive impact on client retention. Is this person going to stick with it? And am I going to retain this client? But in addition to the program delivery or delivering value to that person and the experience and stuff, number one, we have to have an opportunity for client retention. Okay. So an opportunity for client retention means if I have a 20-pound weight loss program and they lose 20 pounds, where's the opportunity? They're done. Right. Or if I have a online course or a self-study course and they're done the course, where's the opportunity to retain? So there needs to be an opportunity to continue the program, right? An opportunity to keep going with you. It might be a secondary program. I'm going to look at the service end of this right now, because I used to talk about this when I was coaching trainers, is, are you providing your client with the opportunity to renew with you? Meaning that you need to reset the goals, right? So a client might come to me and they may say, Jeff, I want to lose 10 pounds and, I want to increase my energy. And that might be their initial goal when they sign up, right? So we might work together for 3 months, 6 months, however long on this goal, and they may achieve the goal and now they're done and they're not working with me anymore, or they've trained with me X amount of time and they feel like they can go on their own. So I'm not creating the opportunity to renew them, right? How I might create the opportunity to renew them is consistently adding new goals as we go. So if I'm servicing this person and they're showing up to the gym to see me twice a week, right? I'm going to have conversations with them constantly about their life and their goals, right? And as we have these conversations, they're going to tell me, oh, my sister got engaged and she's going to get married next year. And, I'm feeling a lot better and I haven't run in years and and whatever. As they're mentioning these things, I'm going to turn these into new goals, right? So they're like, oh, when's the wedding? And they say, oh, it's next October. So I'm going to write that down on their file, right? Wedding next October. I say, okay, well, we've got our goal of XYZ, but we'll definitely put that on the marker because you definitely want to feel and look good for that wedding, right? And it's like, oh, you haven't run? What did you used to run? Oh, did you ever consider doing another like half marathon or 10K and stuff? Yeah, maybe one day. Great. I write that down. So what I'm doing is as they're showing up and I'm servicing them, it's just being curious about their life, and creating new goals with them all the time, right? Because fitness is a journey. Fitness is a lifelong journey, right? The reality of it is that, once we hit a certain age, we're going to actually start losing muscle mass. We're going to lose, joint fluidity. We're going to lose joint capsule fluid and bone density and all these things, right? So, we will have to work on our fitness and our health for the rest of our lives. And so it's a journey. It's not like, hey, we were getting here. The key is, am I creating within my program, whether it's an offer program or it's training or a studio, am I creating the opportunity for this person to continue on with me? The big mistake that I saw in people that service people one-on-one, either online or in person, is that they don't do this opportunity to continue until it's too late. Meaning, a person bought a 6-month package, and in month 6, they're now trying to set new goals and renew the person. Well, the person knows that they're running out of sessions, and that, you're setting this goal for that reason, right? And so it almost becomes too late. It doesn't have enough time to plant the seed and sort of germinate in their mind. And that's why I say you have to be doing this constantly. So month 1, month 2, month 3, I'm constantly talking about new goals, added goals, and whatever. So when month 6 comes along and they've hit their 10-pound weight loss, they've already been thinking about all this other stuff, the wedding and running a 10K and whatever. And they're already thinking about continuing on with me. I haven't said that they're going to, or haven't pitched them the plan necessarily, but the opportunity to renew is there by renewing the goals. Okay. So that's what I mean by opportunity. You have to give clients the opportunity to continue on with you, because then that increases the lifetime value of a customer. You're keeping the same customer and instead of trying to get a new one, which is always easier. The second piece is system. What is my system for having clients continue on? Okay. Meaning that, they get to the end of program number 1. What steps do I have in place that they continue, right? Or if I'm training client one-on-one, what's my renewal system? And so I worked with trainers on a particular system where it was like, okay, 30 days out, this is the conversation that you have with them. Then a week out, this is the conversation you have with them. And, you ask for the sale, make a commitment and whatever. And this is the materials you're going to give to them or show them, or resources you're going to show them. And what is the renewal system, right? And if you're running some sort of online program or a digital product, it could be, well, what is your website flow for the renewal? Is like, do you send them an auto reminder that it's time to renew? And is that supported by benefits of renewing and continuing on? And are you having any kind of customer loyalty program, that's automatically threaded into your system? So those are the 2 big things when it comes to client retention, is like, okay, do they have the opportunity to even continue on with you? Have you primed that opportunity? And do you have a system for having them continue? Because if you don't, implementing a system will increase the number of people that you do retain. No one's going to retain 100% of clients, but having a system is going to increase the percentage of people that stick on, that stay a member of your gym, or that renew your package or buy a second program with you. Okay. And that's the last bucket there. So those are the 5 areas of any personal training or health and fitness business. So again, as we've gone through the call, we've talked about, some just off the cuff examples, but this applies to me if I'm a personal trainer and I work at a big box gym. These 5 areas apply to me, right? If I'm a solopreneur and I'm an in-home trainer, this applies to me. If I own a studio or a gym, I'm getting customers in, or I'm running group classes, this applies, right? If I'm an online trainer, or I'm selling some sort of online program, 12-week program, whatever, these 5 areas still all apply. So no matter where your space is, it comes down to these 5 areas. And then what you do is you customize the 5 areas to your business model, your clientele, and you as a business owner. Because what works for Seema and Anthony and Carl and stuff, we're all going to do different things. We have different personalities and different comfort levels with different things and different values that we stand for. And that's where we just take these 5 areas and we customize them to your values, right? And that's, one of the things I love about coaching people personally is that, I never say, okay, here's a sales script, do this, because, we want to follow good sales principles and we want to use intelligent sales conversations. But I also don't want to infringe upon your values, right? Like, I don't want you to feel awkward or sleazy while you're having the conversation. And so how can we change that script? How can we change the way your sales process is to make you feel okay about it, but still create the end result, which is increasing client conversion? And so that's why we have to take now these 5 areas, and then we're going to customize it. Okay. So I'm going to give you a bonus area. How does that sound? A bonus area. Everybody's up for the bonus area? Okay. So the bonus area is this. All of these 5 areas are dominated by one. There's one area to rule them all, as they say in the Lord of the Rings. I think Anthony's got it. Mindset. Absolutely. So your mindset is going to influence all of these 5 areas. This is super important. Having the right mindset and developing your mindset is really, really, really important to all 5 areas. Okay. So we're still working within these 5 areas, but mindset's critically important. As I mentioned, I coach a lot of people that do different things. They either have gyms or the one-on-one or whatever. And I find a lot of the time that actually what is getting in the way is the mindset. And so that's okay. I have sometimes mindsets that are getting in my way of the things I do. But the key is working on the mindsets in order to be able to do the 5 areas effectively, because it will dominate them all, right? So we have to train our mindset to be able to do the things that we needed to do or have the perspectives that we need to have in order to execute any of this, okay? Now, there's a lot of people on social media or they have books or things like that, and they'll say, this is the key mindset. Like the key mindset to rule them all is grit, right? Or the key mindset is having a growth mindset. And this is just coming from my personal experience. So take it with a grain of salt. But my experience is it's less about, okay, what is the most important mindset to have as a business owner or someone that's doing this? And it's more about training your mindset so that you can put yourself in the driver's seat of the mindset and drive it where it needs to go. Okay. And what I mean by that is you actually need to shift your mindset and perspective at different times in your business and the tasks and things you're working on. Okay. And the question is that, are you in the driver's seat of the mind? Right? Are you directing the mind how to think or what perspective to have? Or is the mind directing you? And that's the most important piece about the mindset is it's not about one mindset to rule them all. It's about you be in the driver's seat and you shift your mindset when you say it's time. You're in control, and you do that by training your mindset. Okay. And have you refined the way your ability to shift perspective and think in different ways and look at things in different ways? And when you can do that, you become the driver of the mindset. Okay. And let's take some examples, look at some examples of this. So one of the mindsets that's out there, that's the most important mindset is grit. And grit is an important mindset. I'm not going to say it's not, but here's an example, right? I might be cold calling. Okay. So I might create a cold call list or get a cold call list, and I'm going to cold call to get leads into my business, to get them into sales and things like that, or get them into my gym or whatever I'm doing. Right. So then I would say to myself is that grit might be a mindset that is required for cold calling, because when I cold call, I'm going to get a lot of rejection. I'm going to get a lot of no's. It's a high effort, high perseverance task. So before I sit down to do my cold calling, can I put myself in the driver's seat of my mind and shift my mind into a grit mindset to say, doesn't matter what happens in this next 60 minutes, I'm going to go and I'm going to go and I'm going to go. And that's where I would say grit is required right now. And I put my mind in this moment into grit. Okay. Another mindset might be curiosity. Right? So as an example, I try something in my marketing or my sales and it doesn't go the way I thought it would. So instead of getting down on myself or saying, I suck, or the lead sucks, or the program sucks, or the marketing sucks, I can say, I wonder why this didn't go the way I thought it would, or as well as I thought it would. Why might that have happened? And approach it with a curiosity. So when I'm evaluating things that maybe didn't go the way I wanted to, the mindset here isn't necessarily like, grit or pound, ground and pound. It's more curiosity. What's going on here, right? I'm interested in this. I'm not, blaming. I'm not putting anything down. I'm just genuinely curious, because when I'm curious in my mindset, I can get to the bottom of it. Okay. Another mindset might be patience, right? So sometimes, or all the time, things take longer than we expect them to, right? And maybe showing up and doing the work will get the snowball rolling. And as the ball rolls, it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And when a big snowball rolls, it picks up more snow. That's momentum, right? So maybe I'm in the beginning and I just have a small snowball. And right now I'm putting in high effort, seeing low results. But what I need to do is have patience that it is going to unfold if I keep showing up every day and doing the work to work on my business. Okay. Another mindset might be growth mindset, right? That's a popular mindset. So when might a growth mindset apply in my business? And it's, learning, right? So each of these tasks that we went through, do I know the best ways to sell, right? Like, do I know the principles of, marketing and outreach? Do I know the best way to compose a good offer? Or, do I have a good system for client retention? These are maybe something I need to learn about. And that's where a growth mindset of I'm willing to learn and be the student will come in handy, right? That I'm never done learning, that all of these things, I will continue to learn more about them and implement them to benefit my customer, my program, and everybody's life I influence, right? Another growth mindset thing might be just time management, right? I'm willing to learn how to schedule my time better, that we talked about in the beginning, where I'm like, okay, here's the times that I'm in my business servicing people, and here's the times that I'm working on my business. And I'm going to use my calendar. I'm going to chunk blocks in to say, okay, Wednesday from 2 to 4, I'm going to work on my business, and I'm in this bucket. I'm in the marketing bucket. So I'm going to spend 2 hours working on that. Right. And so that might require a growth mindset. And so that's why I say that mindset is the one that rules them all, because when we're working on each of these individual aspects of our business, they will require different mindsets or attitudes. And if we constantly are working on our mindset, opening ourselves up to new perspectives and knowledge, and we train our minds to put ourselves in the driver's seat so that we're not being led by thoughts or emotions, but we're leading the way that we think, then we're able to get all of these 5 areas done more effectively and have more success from it. And so that's why I gave you the bonus area there is mindset. As I said, when I'm coaching people one-on-one, we end up spending a good portion of time working on different mindset things that helps them get past roadblocks. It helps them make new breakthroughs in their business, because it's a big piece of it.